Good morning to you. Welcome to Up to the Minute. I'm Todd Duplantis, and we've got your HCC news and information and some special guests for the next half hour. Stick around for the show. Of course, it is February the 10th. Hard to believe we're already in the midst of February, but stay tuned, folks. Winter is coming. Brittany Pacheco knows all about that. Brittany, winter is coming, Brittany.
It still hurts me to hear that because how invested I was in Game of Thrones, and that last season just let everyone down.
I knew it was going to bring up some bad feelings for you.
Thanks for a great start, Todd. It's great to see you. Thank you.
Do what I can.
No, but seriously, good morning, everyone. I know it's a little bit of a bleak morning here in Houston, but as Todd said earlier, we're looking to maybe getting some colder weather. We'll see. I don't believe it until it actually happens. But since you're here joining us this morning for our Up to the Minute podcast, we really appreciate you being here. Don't forget to like us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and head over to YouTube to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can be the first to find out the latest video uploads from us. All of our videos are produced by our very own HCCTV. And last but not least, to our audience, we do need your help. We want to grow our audience first and foremost, but more importantly, we just want to make sure that everyone has access to this great information that we're going to share for today's episode and pretty much every other episode that we have. So if you can hit that share button at the bottom right of this podcast, we'd really appreciate it.
All right, Brittany, stick around. If we have any social media questions or comments during the show, make sure you pipe in and let us know. I know that that's not going to be a problem for you, just jumping in the middle of it. Okay. All right, Brittany, we'll check in with you later on. So we've got two special guests on the show. First off, Rania Mankarious, who's the CEO of Crime Stoppers of Houston. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're looking forward to talking with you. We've got some very significant subjects we want to talk about, and we appreciate all the work you do. Stick around. We'll get with you in just a few moments. But first, we've got returning to the show, Jef Rouner, Houston Press contributor for video games and pop culture. Good morning again, Jef. Thanks for being here again.
Hey, Todd. Thanks for having me back.
So we want to dive right into it because we've got a great program here at HCC that teaches people how to build video games. In fact, we'll put the link to that program in the social media post for the show. But today you're here to talk about a few games, including one which is the perfect game for the horror genre. Maybe you can tell us about that.
All right. Well, today I want to talk about the franchise Little Nightmares, and as you can see behind me, it is very bleak and gloomy outside. So that I scheduled the sun so that I would look exactly like the Crypt Keeper just for this production. So you're welcome. Thank you. You can send the check in the mail. But I want to talk about Little Nightmares because when we talk about games, I think that there's an ideal form of the media, that there's a way to do a video game that makes it art in ways that movies and books and plays are not art. And this is a game that absolutely just perfects it to the hilt. And we've got the sequel to it coming out tomorrow on PS4, PC, and Xbox One. Switch will come a little bit later. It always does. And the game is basically about a small orphan child that awakes in a hideous prison. Everything's very industrial. It's very David Lynch. She's the only color in it. She was wearing a yellow raincoat. And as she walks through it, she basically has to unlock puzzles to escape what you later learn is a place where very rich people go to eat children for fun.
Lord, so it sounds like it's something not for the whole family. I imagine this is a mature game, to say the least.
It's strangely family friendly. I know from what I said, it's not. It doesn't sound like it. But if you've ever seen the movie Spirited Away, it's basically the Brothers Quaid meets a Tool video meets Spirited Away.
Okay. So let's talk about what game feel means. That's a term that that I've read in the notes here. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that.
Game feel is why I really think that this game is a platonic ideal of a video game. The term was coined by Morgan Kaufman in a book of the same title. And it basically refers to how you change an environment. Like if you play like the old Doom games and you push a lever in Doom, all that happens on the screen is a light goes from green to red or a switch goes from up to down. There's no movement in it. You don't actually put your hand up and move a lever. But in games like Little Nightmares or Limbo and stuff like that, you have to grab a lever and you have to pull it, and there's a resistance in it, especially with modern vibration technology and controllers. So whenever you do things like, pull levers or jump or scramble up a hillside, you think about the original Super Mario Brothers and how when you would start to run, it wouldn't be immediate. You would have to build up momentum, a sense of inertia. That's game feel. It's taking the tactile sensation of interacting with the world and translating it into the way you experience it visually, auditorially, just tactily. And I think that's one of the reasons that it makes playing it such an amazing experience.
Jef, a lot of our students are studying and wanting to get into gaming. Everybody, I want to design a game. And I had some gamers on the show last week, some people in our program, and they talked about how long and tedious it was just to create a 5-minute portion of the game. When these games like Little Nightmares are in development, being an expert yourself, how long does it take them to develop it from start to finish when you've got to get the funding, not just get the funding, but start the development? You bring in all the artists, and to deliver it, what's the usual time frame on something like that?
I mean, it does vary quite widely. You have to take into account, what you're making. Obviously, something like Cyberpunk 2077, which just came out, they announced that in 2013. That took a crew of, I think, 180 people, not counting marketing, not counting wider programming. On the other hand, the latest Hitman just came out, and those came out like one boom, boom, boom every year for 3 years because they were essentially building on the same engine. Something like Little Nightmares, it's I think it's 4 years old, building on its own previous technology, and it can be done by a fairly small team. It really comes down to just how you approach it and how realistic you are in your goals. The thing you always have to remember is having more people to do the work is incredibly important. You will save time, you will save frustration, your game will be better, because if you skimp on your labor, then it doesn't matter how long it takes to come out, because it is going to just drag it out and fill it full of errors and bugs. So, I mean, some people can make video games in 24 hours, not very long or complex ones, obviously. But, you look back in the 90s, like id Software, I mentioned Doom, they put out like 6 games in 1994. That's an incredible amount. And it was a team of only I think 20 to 30 people. So, like I said, it varies wildly, but the important thing is to have realistic expectations while you're doing it, and then you will know how long it'll take.
But for every Doom and every Little Nightmares you have probably 20 or 30 that didn't make it out there, or just were bombs.
Yeah, I mean, it's especially since the service Steam came live, and so many people are able to get their video games to a market. It used to be you had to go through so many hoops to get onto Nintendo and Sony and Microsoft, and now it's a much more streamlined process. And on one hand, that's good because there's a lot more out there. But on the other hand, it's the iTunes problem, it's the YouTube problem. You can put so much content out there, but it's very rarely curated. So you got to learn. Number one, you've got to have really good quality. You've got to double check it to make sure it's something new, it's something interesting, and that it's got something that other video games don't have. You can't just put on a zombie shooter anymore, because there are 100 out there today. There'll be 100 more out there tomorrow.
And Jef, Little Nightmares, obviously very excited about this one. Any others you see on the horizon that you're going to that you want to give a plug to now that you're very excited about?
For all that I just poo-pooed on zombie shooters, I am so excited about the new Resident Evil coming out in May. Like everybody else who's on the internet, I have become enamored of the 8-foot-tall vampire Southern Belle lady who's become a meme. It looks really over the top and ridiculous. I grew up on the series. I love it when it is at its most just completely insane. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Jef Rouner, of course, if folks want to check you out, they can find you in the Houston Press, and you also write for, is it San Francisco Times?
San Francisco Chronicle.
The Chronicle in San Francisco as well. We thank you for being on the show again, and we look forward to seeing you in the future.
Bye.
All right, thanks, Jef. All right, so we're going to switch gears now and check in with Rania Mankarious. And Rania is the CEO of Crime Stoppers of Houston. We appreciate you being here, Rania. And you guys do some great work at Crime Stoppers. People are very familiar with the name, Crime Stoppers of Houston. But just in a brief thumbnail, maybe you can tell us what exactly the organization is for.
Yeah, actually, it's so interesting. When I took over Crime Stoppers in 2013, they had just done a survey. They found 100% of people knew our name, but only 2% knew what we did. And so I'm happy to do that. Everybody knows that we have a tip line, 713-222-TIPS. It's on the news every single day. We work with the community to extract information anonymously, send it to law enforcement, and we solve some of the biggest felony cases that take place in our city, state, and actually across the country. But beyond that, we're super proactive in terms of crime prevention education. We are boots on the ground in the schools. We're in the community. We are everywhere where crime takes place, so we can educate people, oftentimes proactively is the hope, so that we can mitigate becoming a victim of crime.
You know, we've got the next question is just real personal to me because you see so many things. I've lived in Houston most of my life, but over the past weekend, we had a dozen shootings in the city. They're saying many of them were related. Many of them were teenagers, and we've got a lot of issues in this city. When you talk to a lot of law enforcement, I've heard that a lot of it is pandemic related, could be for the pandemic, but we also have situations where we've got repeat offenders who are being let out of jail. Well, let's talk about some of the issues because I know these issues infuriate a number of Houstonians.
Yeah, and us especially. We're just dying over what we're seeing, and I'll tell you, this is what we're seeing now has been brewing and brewing and brewing well before the pandemic. Felony bond reform hit Harris County before the pandemic. Yeah. The notion is no one should be held. Just no one, period. And if you've committed a murder, you're convicted of a murder, you're going to be let out until trial. We'll hope you come back. And if you're charged with a murder, rather, you're going to be let out until trial, and hopefully you'll come back. And what we're finding is these people, once they're out, they go right back out into the community and commit the same crime or more egregious crimes. And people are becoming victimized in record numbers. And so you add to that, of course, COVID, you add to that the stresses of 2020, you add to that, even though our city has handled it beautifully, this sort of anti-police sentiment, even again, Mayor Turner, Chief Acevedo handled it. They're just gold stars in my book in terms of how they handled it. But all of that is there. It's all bubbling together. And so, you know, one more layer, we've decriminalized certain crimes over the past year or two. So burglary of a motor vehicle, when you have a strained law enforcement department, you have other crimes that are going up like crazy. We're not going to stop everything, your average police officer, to respond to a burglary of a motor vehicle. But here's the problem. The number one thing stolen from vehicles is guns. So we shouldn't be surprised. 3,000 guns were stolen in 1 year. So we cannot be surprised that now these guns have made their way back into the community, and we're seeing these weekends that are they're just unimaginable.
Well, you know, as a community member and as a parent and a resident here in Houston, what can a person like myself or any of us do from the community level? I mean, we've got a situation where we're infuriated about bond reform. What is it going to take? Voting people out? What do we do from a community grassroots level to make our community better?
The best thing we can do is become educated on what's going on. So we'll talk to people that will say, it's all this person, it's all the DA, it's all the mayor, it's all the chief, it's all the sheriff. And it's like, no, stop and figure out sort of the chain of custody of these cases, whose hands touch them and where and what role they have. Oftentimes the mayor of Houston has nothing to do with these issues, like literally nothing. He's appointed this incredible chief of police who we're so lucky to have, but he has no pull over the judges or the magistrates or the whole entire criminal justice system. We're asking people to get involved. And here's the tricky part. Crime is one of those weird things where, you know, they always say the number one podcasts are crime related. We're interested in it. We want to see it. But the second we feel like it's touching us and our families, we don't want anything to do with it. And it's hard to get the average person to stop and say, no, can you actually dig deep into what's going on with these felony cases and these crimes that are popping up all over the city? And they say, well, I don't know if I want to. But then they become a victim, and all of a sudden it's the most important issue on their radar. And we understand that. So follow what Crime Stoppers is doing. all we do is give out information. We're showing you the cases. We're walking through what's going on, helping people understand what city council does versus the county commissioners, what role each of those bodies have in criminal justice reform, and not about voting anybody out. Really, that's not our goal. We're thankful for everybody who serves, but we can create educated voters who know what to ask for and actually bring solutions to the table. And that's what we're trying to do.
You had mentioned before that one of your big outreach is really getting into the schools to talk to the kids. How have you been dealing with that with the COVID situation and reaching the children? Because we've got to start young in educating not just the public, but start educating the kids while they're in school.
Yeah, in 1997, we started going to schools, only middle and high school, talking to kids about crime prevention, giving them access to that anonymous tip line. After the killing of elementary school kids at Sandy Hook Elementary School, and I had just taken over Crime Stoppers, we realized it was a new world. We needed to be in schools, kindergarten, not talking about a tip line, but talking to kids about all aspects of public safety. These kids are online. They're online in kindergarten, first grade, meaning they're using apps and online games. They're interfacing with so many people. They are developing opinions of law enforcement. So anyway, we've been very active K through 12th grade. COVID hit, and within about 2 days, we transformed our entire Safe School Institute, which was a boots on the ground organization, into a virtual program. And now we've actually reached more kids than ever through the ability to reach so many virtually. We are training schools and teachers and kids across the state of Texas. We've been asked by Governor Abbott to do that. We work closely with the TEA and many other groups across the state. We're very thankful for that.
We're of course going to put the link to Crime Stoppers. If you want to explore their programs, we're going to put the link in the social media post for the show. I want to talk to you about another subject because it's been popping up over and over the last 2 to 3 years, certainly well before COVID. Human trafficking in the Houston, Texas area. Apparently this has turned into a huge crisis for the city. What's your stance and where are we at with this?
Well, it is a huge issue, but I'll tell you where Houston leads. A lot of people say we're the hub for trafficking, but we're also the hub for prevention. We are so on the forefront of every aspect of trafficking, what it looks like, how these predators operate, where they buy these girls or these women or these young boys, where law enforcement is, where laws are. And so Crime Stoppers is leading this effort. There's a fantastic group out of Houston called the Houston 20 leading this effort, the Fight for Us movement. So we've really moved the needle on education. You know, when the city is not asleep, when a city has woken up to what is going on and they get engaged, change really happens. And this is just about having a heart for other people. You can't imagine that in this city, there are young girls, young boys, women, men at any age that are being raped day after day, hour after hour, completely, helpless in every way. It's impossible for that to go on. And so many of us have come together to say we will fight it at every level. So that's education in the schools, that's finding these victims and rescuing them, that's providing resources for them, that's law enforcement, that's the criminal justice system, and it's legislation.
Well, and I imagine it plays a role in your outreach to schools. What I'm reading is kids are being targeted online through chat rooms. That dates me with my age, but with groups, everything from Twitter to Facebook and social media platforms.
It's infuriating. And I'll tell you, I try to bite my tongue, but it's really, really hard because we know that the online solicitation of minors went up by 93% last year. And our kids are online. They have to be. And what just kills me is these platforms, these same platforms who have been so active in regulating certain speech or content over COVID, political conversations, have claimed that they can do nothing about the sale of children online and the exploitation of children online. They can't catch it. They don't have policies in place to address it. And it's disgusting and it's wrong. It's inhumane. It's offensive on every front. So we're working with Nicosi and other groups to help them hold these social media platforms responsible. This is inexcusable, unacceptable, and we're proud to work together to do that.
Rania Mankarious, we really appreciate you being here on the show and enlightening us on some things we all need to think about, especially with the great work you do at Crime Stoppers of Houston. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. We'd love to see you again.
Would
All
love
right.
it. Thank you.
All right, we're going to move on to Brittany with our news and information. You know, Brittany, it certainly makes you think when you hear a conversation like that. You know, we've got a number of, you know, we're in a pandemic right now, but, you know, we've got a number of things to work on in the city, and none of them have to do with keeping a quarterback or having a sports team. It all goes back to keeping our kids safe and keeping our community safe.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Todd, you know, my husband is an elementary school teacher, and I know there were differences of opinions when it came to should kids go back into the schools or not. And obviously the pandemic is a great concern. However, my husband put it to me this way, that school for many kids is their safe place, a place to get away from home, whatever may be going on within the home mentally, physically, or verbally. School for many children is that safe place, a place that they know they can get something to eat and be around people who care about them and just make them feel safe. So, I mean, we're all responsible for making sure that we're taking care of each other and ourselves first and foremost, of course. But yes, we obviously do need to take care of others as well.
Well, Brittany, we want to move into our HCC news and announcements. We've got a lunch and learn happening, looks like later today.
It is happening later today, specifically 11:30 a.m. So just about an hour after our episode. So the Lunch and Learn is in honor of Black History Month. HCC's Women in Leadership is hosting a panel discussion on the Black family, representation, identity, and diversity. Leaders who balance family life, traditions, and paths of excellence are considered examples of the modern African-American family. Once again, this is taking place today at 11:30 a.m. I encourage you all, if you already haven't, to check your HCCS emails to find the registration link to participate.
Okay, let's see. We've also got a Veterans Resource Fair that's happening. VMAS, the Veterans and Military Affiliated Student Success Program, is sponsoring a Veterans Resource Fair to learn about all the resources available to you. That's happening Thursday, February the 11th, 10 a.m. to noon. You can RSVP by today. Or, well, now you can still RSVP. So we'll put the link and the email in the social media post for the show. Okay, Student Life has some things coming up. Maybe you can go through a couple of them, and then I'll talk about Zydeco Time.
Okay, so Student Life lineup, they're offering a lot of events, Todd. Lunar New Year is coming up. Celebrate the Year of the Ox and learn how Lunar New Year is celebrated around the globe with this engaging discussion on its history and traditions. Happening today, later this evening at 6 p.m. Also, Healthy Relationships, Dating Violence Awareness Month. We talked about this earlier about with Rania. This is pretty important. So life coach Stephanie McKenzie will discuss tips to bring healing into your life or someone you know who is a victim of dating violence. Now that's happening tomorrow, Thursday, February 11th at 1 p.m.
And also, it's Zydeco Time. That's right. Learn about this unique form of music that brings people together to move to the beat. I just love Zydeco. I just wanted to say Zydeco. Big fan of Zydeco. Buckwheat Zydeco, one of my favorites. Clifton Chenier. I'm all about Zydeco.
I don't think you've said Zydeco enough, Todd.
I'm going to say it again. Zydeco. Learn about it. Thursday, February the 11th. Check the website for the times. Okay, Hispanic internship program. That's happening, Brittany.
Yes, the Hispanic Association of Colleges and Universities is seeking applicants for the 2021 National Internship Program. The program offers students valuable work experience through paid, emphasis paid, internships at federal agencies and private corporations nationwide. Summer session deadlines are as follows. February 12th for students attending institutions on a regular calendar and February 26th for those on a quarter calendar. Students can apply online by going to hacu.net/HNIP. I know that's a lot to remember, everyone. Don't worry, we're going to include that link in this description after the show.
All right, Rec Sports Fitness schedule. Get your pen and paper out because they've got a long schedule. Mondays and Wednesdays, deep stretching. Mondays and Fridays, you have meditation and yoga. Tuesdays and Thursdays, boot camp and Zumba. And on Fridays only, Twerk out with the V Sisters, Twerk's Fitness, and finally, wellness tips. You can get all those by checking out the social media pages for HCC Rec Sports, and we'll also put their handle and their social media and their links to their program in the social media post for the show. All right, February Financial Aid Awareness Month, something that all of our students probably have an interest in, Brittany.
Absolutely, especially with the emergency aid available to our students. That includes Swoop to the Rescue, CARES Act, discounted and or free technology services, and financial aid for unemployed students. We will have the link in the post after this show, just so that everyone has access to this great source of resources.
Can you believe Second Start registration's coming up pretty quickly? It's actually, the classes start on Tuesday.
Yes, I totally believe it. I mean, I feel 2021 is going by a lot faster than 2020 did. That's just my opinion.
Sure did. Yeah. We've got a number of options, though. A couple of them, though, Brittany, are online that you can take.
Quite a few actually are online at this time, Todd. So we have online anytime is just as it sounds. Take classes online at any time, whatever works for you. We also have online on a schedule, which is taking classes at a specified time that you have selected to enroll in. Now, Flex Campus, while our Flex Campus usually means in-person courses, that has been postponed until further notice. And right now, all students who are enrolled in Flex Campus will continue their classes online. Now, lab-based courses is a little different. Those are our critical hands-on skill-based learning for some courses that will continue to be offered in person. That's selected programs. So if you're interested, if your program is one of those lab-based courses, just reach out to your program director to find out. And also, because Todd mentioned it, Second Start starts next week, you can register by going to hccs.edu/now.
So tomorrow, we've got a big show. You're going to be here tomorrow, right?
I will be here tomorrow.
Okay, so the virtual Black History Gala is coming up. This year, we're doing something differently. We're going to have the gala virtually online. That's right. So we've got the keynote speaker, Cambrell Marshall of KPRC News 2 Houston is going to be here tomorrow. Haven't seen Cambrell in a while, so it'd be nice to visit with him. And we've got virtual Family Fun Day as well, Brittany.
Yeah, we are welcoming Rebecca Rabineau, the Menil Collection. I love the Menil Collection. It's been a very long while since I've been there. Though it's located here in Houston, it is known all over the world. And Dr. Rabineau actually came here from New York Metropolitan Museum to serve as its curator. So we're going to hear from her tomorrow for Up to the Minute. That's exciting.
It's an incredible collection. I went there about a year and a half ago. We've been several times, but some amazing art, some amazing historical pieces, some artifacts. You're going to find things, if you haven't been, you're going to find things that you wouldn't expect to be there. But the best part about it, Brittany, is it's completely free. You can visit the collection free of charge. They do ask for a donation, but it's really free of charge. And so we'll see how they're doing things and if they're opened up in a limited fashion and all that and more. We'll learn all about it tomorrow on the show. All right. You got anything else?
Love the Rothko Chapel. That's all I have to say about that.
Well, yeah. I don't know if we should see about getting them online on the virtual Family Fun Day as well, because I don't know if they've reopened yet or if they're doing something online. But Rothko Chapel's pretty cool too.
Very, very cool. Yeah, no, I'm excited for tomorrow's show. We're gonna have Cambrell. We're gonna have the Menil Collection. I mean, what more do you want?
What more could you ask for? All right, Brittany. We'll check in with you tomorrow, and we will check
definitely. And don't
go ahead.
We were doing so well, Todd.
No, yeah, the show just got lost. Well, we made it to 10:29 though. But
hey, that's better than 10:21. No, I just wanted to quickly remind everyone to follow us on social media. Don't forget about YouTube, and don't forget to share this podcast onto your personal news feed so we can grow our audience.
That's right. Thanks for being here today. Thank you, Brittany, and thank you most of all. We will talk to you tomorrow live, 10 a.m. on Up to the Minute.